Hello, it's Mr. Mihir here. Hopefully you're doing well. Today we're going to talk about a question that I commonly get asked by my Year 11 and Year 12 students. And that is, how do I know which career path to pursue? So to answer this question, I'm going to go through 5 different ways that you can figure out what career path that you should pursue. The first approach is to talk to someone that you look up to. Anyone can tell you their thoughts, but you're probably not going to take in what they say. Instead, you're more likely to listen to someone that you admire or look up to. If you look at the marketing sector, you'll find that the best form of advertising is through word of mouth. Why? Because you're more likely to trust your family and friends and what they have to say. Likewise, if you talk to someone that you look up to, you're more likely to take in what they have to say and take on their advice. And so when you talk to them, there are 3 questions that I recommend you should ask them. The first one is, what do you think I'm good at? The reason why you should ask this question is because sometimes when we look at ourselves, we kind of think that we're not good at anything. Sometimes it takes that outside perspective to tell us that we're actually good at something. We already know that we're good at something, but we just want to hear it from someone else. We are looking for that validation. Alternatively, their perspective will also give us another way to look at something and realize, hey, this might be something that I could pursue. The second question you should ask is, how did you know what you wanted to pursue? The reason why this is a really good question you should ask is because each person has their own journey or story which brought them about to get into the career path that they are currently pursuing. By hearing their story, hopefully you'll be inspired and motivated to pursue something. And even if you don't know what exactly to pursue, at least this will show you that to figure out what career path you should do, it takes time and it takes a process. And so the last question I would recommend you ask is, what advice would you give me in terms of selecting a career path? The reason for this question is quite obvious, but to put it bluntly, I'm not the only person out there who has advice on what or how to figure out what pathway to pursue. Chances are they will have their own opinions, and by hearing all these different opinions from different people, at least you will gain an insight on what it takes to find out the selected career path. You'll find that the common problem that you are currently experiencing is not so much you have too much information or not even you have not enough information. Instead, the question that really boggles your mind is, who do I trust? What information do I trust? And that's why by talking to someone that you look up to, you're more likely to take in what they have to say because you trust them, and as a result, you'll figure out which career path to pursue. The second approach is to complete multiple career quizzes. If you don't know what a career quiz is, in a nutshell, it is where you do this online test and it asks you questions about your personality. And then, based off your personality, it will recommend certain career pathways for you to pursue. For many people, when they do these career quizzes, they can kind of already guess what kind of suggestions they will give. You'll also find that some quizzes tend to be quite biased towards particular sectors. On the other hand, you'll also find that some quizzes will give you suggestions that are so broad that it's not actually helping you figure out what career to pursue. For this reason, my suggestion is to do multiple quizzes over a long period of time. When you complete those quizzes, you should write down what suggestions they have given. From there, you should check to see if any profession or any suggestions have an overlap of particular professions. Whichever profession aligns across multiple tests, then maybe that is the career path you should pursue. That being said though, sometimes when you complete a quiz, your answers that you put in can be biased, or that can be swayed by your emotion, state of mind, or even the latest trend. And so that's why I would say you should complete these tests over a long period of time. For example, you should probably do 5 quizzes today, and then in a month's time, do those same 5 quizzes again, and then in a month's time, do those same 5 quizzes again. From there, if you look at your answers, or hopefully you recorded your answers, if you notice that a particular pathway continues to pop up in each of your suggestions or in each of the suggestions of those quizzes, then maybe that is the career path to pursue. In the description below, I'm going to put a few links of online quizzes in which I think are quite good. I'm not sponsored by them, but based off my own research, these appear to be quite informative. The third approach centers around asking yourself deep and meaningful questions. There are 3 deep and meaningful questions that I would suggest you ask yourself. The first question would be, what is something that I can do to make the world a little bit better? The reality is the world is not perfect, and so there is lots of room for improvement. The idea behind this is that you want to leave this world better off than when you first came into here. If you can answer this question, then maybe this is the career path that you should pursue. The second meaningful question that you could ask yourself is, what mark would I like to leave on this earth? The reality is you only get one shot at this life. You don't get any respawns. And so what would you like to be remembered as? Do you want to be remembered as someone who has made a big impact in someone's life? Do you want to be remembered as someone who has changed the culture in a particular society or in a particular industry? Or do you want to be remembered as a person who has revolutionized a particular sector? And so the last question you could ask yourself is, if I could help someone in any way, what would it be? And so this goes in line with the previous video I made in terms of providing as much value as possible to others. The reality is, the more value that you can give to others, the higher on demand you will become. Now, obviously you need to communicate that value to others, but if other people see your service or your product or your skills as something that people want and need, then people are going to pay for it. That is something that you should pursue. The fourth approach is to go and speak to your parents. Now, I know what you're probably going to say.
I already know what they're gonna say. There's no point in asking them.
Yeah, that's fine. Just go ask them again. But before you do, make sure you ask them something called a disarming question. To understand what a disarming question is, or at least what I like to call a disarming question, have you ever spoken to your parents, or have you ever realized that your parents have these set ideas or set phrases such that you've heard them so many times that it's as if they are some record playing, just playing the same things over and over again? You ask them a question, you already know what they're going to say. They're going to say this exact same thing. A disarming question is a question that is designed to break that automatic response or to break that automatic train of thought. So before you actually go on starting to talk about what career path to pursue, the first disarming question you should probably ask is, what are the top 3 career paths you want me to pursue? Now notice with this question, it's not what career path should I pursue, it's what career path do you, as my parents, want me to pursue? The reason why this is a great question is because they're expecting you to turn around and say, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? But by you going up to them and saying, what do you want? They're not expecting that. And as a result, they become disarmed from that question. Now it's important to listen, genuinely listen to what they have to say. But then after they say that, you should ask a follow-up question, which is why? Why do you want me to pursue that pathway? Although you may know the answer to that question, it's better to hear it from them again, just so that you can hopefully gain a further insight into why they are asking or why they are wanting you to pursue that pathway. But once you ask those disarming questions, then you can go into the nitty-gritty discussion in terms of what career path you should actually pursue. And so the questions are very similar to the question that you would ask to the person that you admire. Now, obviously, there's a few different questions, and so here are 3 questions that I would recommend that you talk to your parents about. The first question is, what do you think I'm good at? The second question is, what career path do you think I will be good at? Now, notice it's a little bit different, but it's now asking, what do you think as my parents, because you've watched me grow, what do you think I will be good at? And then the last question you should ask is, why do you think I'm going to be good at that? Hopefully, if you ask these questions, you'll gain insight into your parents' train of thought and also your own ideas or your own skills that you may or may not have known. The last approach is to go out there and get a part-time job or at least volunteer. Yes, at the moment, it is a little bit difficult because of COVID, But once those restrictions ease, I would strongly recommend that you go out there and pursue a part-time job or volunteer at a place that you are somewhat interested in. Ideally, if you do have an idea of what to pursue, then definitely get a part-time job or volunteer at a place that is similar or the ideal place that you would want to work at. So for example, let's say you want to be a pharmacist, then it would make sense that you should get a part-time job in a pharmacy. Alternatively, if you want to get into the music industry, then I would probably approach someone who is in the music industry and then ask if you can shadow them. The reason why this is important is because as you get older, you'll realize that experience is extremely valuable. The more experience you have, the better off you will be. The more experience you have, the more understanding you will have of the situation, the more understanding of what your characteristics are, the better you will be able to figure out whether or not this is the right career path to pursue. The reality is, even if you pursue a part-time job or volunteer in some field that in the end you just are not interested in, you are far better off having wasted that time than just sit at home planning, thinking, what should I do, and pretty much doing nothing. And there you go, guys. There are 5 ways that you can figure out which career path to pursue. Now, I know the last one you can't really do given the current situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a bonus tip. So this 5 plus 1. So I'm going to give you a bonus suggestion or tip on what you can do to figure out which career path to pursue. It's very similar to the getting the part-time job or volunteering. Instead, with this one, you literally call them up. You call them up and ask them questions about the job. I know it's a little bit intimidating to randomly call someone and ask them questions, but the reality is, by doing so, you're actually getting in touch with people who are in the profession that you want to know about. One suggestion that I would give to potentially lower the possibility of rejection is by saying that you are a student that is calling up to do a research project. Now, you're not lying. You are a student and you're doing a research project on careers. So you could say, hi, my name is John. I'm calling up because I'm a student doing a research project on careers. I was wondering if I could quickly speak or arrange a time to speak with the profession and ask them a few questions. It should only take 5 minutes of their time. Chances are is that when you call them, they'll probably say that they're busy, which is fine. As I showed with the example, you can call and arrange an appointment for another time. And if you still get rejected, that's fine. Just call up another place. When you do manage to get in touch with someone that is willing to talk to you, then I have 5 questions that you can ask to keep it short, sharp, and brief, but at the same time, you will be able to have a good understanding of what's entailed in that career pathway. The first question is, what is the best thing about being a profession, whatever the profession is? The second thing is, what is the worst thing about being the profession? Can you describe what a typical day looks like? What kind of person do you think would be best suited for this kind of job? What did you have to do to get into this profession? And there you go. There's 5 ways or 5 questions that you could ask when you call them up. Once you've called a few people up and you've asked them these questions, and I'm assuming you're writing down the answers, you can then know which career path to pursue. Simply put, if a career path resonates with you, or if something that the person on the other line said resonates with you, then that may be the career path you should pursue. And there you go, guys. There is 5 plus 1 ways that you can figure out which career path to pursue. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. What happens if I make a mistake? What happens if I pursue a particular career path and I realize it's not for me? Would all that time be wasted? Well, the reality is these are legitimate concerns, and what I'll do is I'll address those concerns in the next video. And so if you want to be notified for the next video, then don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon down below, and I will catch you next week.